What's happening, folks? Happy Monday. It's a little bit chilly outside, but we're back out here for another walk and talk. I want to talk to you about Bitcoin's price movements, right? So whenever Bitcoin dips, you'll always hear people say the same shit. You see, that's why I didn't buy Bitcoin. It's too risky, right? And when they say risky, what they mean is too volatile, right? Because they're just looking at the price action. They're looking at the movement of the price up and down, right? And that makes a lot of people sick, and I get it, right? When I first got into Bitcoin, it was something I didn't really understand, right? But what I'm here to tell you is that volatility is not the same thing as risk. So when people are talking about, oh, Bitcoin's too risky, what they mean is it's too volatile. So year to date, right, the last 5 to 6 months, Bitcoin started off the year at like 106,000. Over 4 months, we dropped down to $76,000 in April. And in the last month, Bitcoin has ran from 76,000 back up to 106,000, right? That's called volatility, right? And volatility and risk are not the same thing. So volatility is just motion, right? The price moving up and down. Risk is the chance of permanent loss, right? And what Bitcoin has showed us over the last 15 years is that it's extremely volatile, but it's not risky, right? So what I mean by that is, if you look at Bitcoin's chart, you can see periods where Bitcoin draws down 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%. But at the same time, on those charts, you can see Bitcoin also run up 5x, 6x, 10x, right? It's not the same as gambling, where people put in parlays and where if one thing goes wrong, your money's gone forever, right? You have to let your money sit in Bitcoin because of its track record. So you have to make sure that you understand the difference between risk and volatility, right? When you zoom out on a Bitcoin chart, it shows that it's actually the least risky asset to hold your money in, to store your value in. So let's break down volatility just a little bit more, right? So volatility usually refers to how often and how much the price of something moves, especially in the short term, right? Stocks are volatile. Stocks go up and down, right? Real estate prices are fairly volatile. They go up and down. Oil is volatile. It goes up and down, right? Gold is volatile. It goes up and down. The price of it goes up and down. Bitcoin, extremely volatile, right? But there's a reason for that, multiple reasons for that. So there's a few reasons for Bitcoin's volatility, right? One is that it's a fairly new asset class. Two is that it hasn't been globally adopted yet, but it is a global asset. Bitcoin is for everyone all around the world. All you need is internet access, right? Three, Bitcoin's markets, or the crypto market, is open 24/7, right? The traditional finance markets are only open Monday to Friday between work hours of, say, 8 to 4, right? Bitcoin is 24/7, 365 days a year, right? And another reason why it's volatile is that we're still learning a lot about it, right? There's still new developments coming from it. People are starting to understand what it is and how powerful it is as an asset. Someone wants to join us on our walk. With volatility, the price may drop for a period of time, but usually the price recovers, right? Risk is different now, right? Risk is the chance of permanent loss. Risk is the chance that, or the probability of something failing and losing value forever. You see, volatility is the thing that makes people sick, right? It's the thing that makes people panic sell. It's the thing that makes people emotional, right? Watching the price of something that you bought drop significantly in a short amount of time, it's not easy, B. It's not easy, right? Some of the best advice I got or that I read when it came to stocks and investing was, don't buy anything if you can't stomach the fact that at any point in time, the value of your portfolio, of your investment, can drop by 50% in one day, right? And I've seen it happen. I've experienced it. And It's not easy. It's not easy to hold on to something when you see the price of it falling, right? And with Bitcoin, that emotion is 10x because it's a much more significant drawdown, right? But if you know something's volatile, you know something is bound to recover, right? But when something is risky, right? Risk is what empties your pockets, right? Risk is what makes you lose forever. Bitcoin is extremely volatile, like I've said, right? You'll see drawdowns of 30, 40, 50, 70, 80%, right? But something that people tend to look over and not really focus on is how fast it recovers when it draws down and how much it grows over time. Right, I'm a numbers guy, so let's look at some numbers, right? Since Bitcoin's inception, right, it has been the best performing asset in the world by far, even with 30, 50, 80, 90% drawdowns, right? There have been many years where Bitcoin has drawn down 40, 50, 60%, but then the year after, it runs 5x, 4x, right? Its recovery is phenomenal. Imagine an asset that's volatile enough to drop down 50% in 1 year, right? But then it's strong enough to recover and grow 5x the next. That's Bitcoin, right? And you have to look at volatility as a gift. If there wasn't any volatility, we wouldn't get opportunities to get into the market, right? We wouldn't get opportunities to buy assets at discounted prices, right? You guys love when things go on sale, right? When your favorite pairs of shoes goes on sale, when your favorite dress goes on sale, or your favorite collection of makeup goes on sale. Whatever the case is, when you see a sale, you're like, damn, I need to get that, right? But people don't tend to think that way when it comes to assets, right? People get spooked out, right? But when things are dropping, you have to look at it as an opportunity, right? This is my chance to get this asset at a discounted price because you know what you're holding if you've done your research, right? So I've talked a whole lot about why I think Bitcoin is volatile, but I want to talk to you about why I don't think Bitcoin is risky. So the first reason I think Bitcoin is not risky is because it has a limited supply. There are only 21 million Bitcoin, and that's all there will ever be, right? Bitcoin can't be diluted, it can't be manipulated, it can't be reproduced, right? So that's a good thing. That's a great feature, right? Our dollars, on the other hand, the government, the central banks, the Federal Reserve, they can print dollars at will, right? They can print dollars out of thin air, right? How valuable can something be if someone can make it out of thin air, right? Imagine you're holding a collector's card. Say you collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards or baseball cards or basketball cards, right? It's supposed to be a one-of-one card, right? But then someone out of nowhere just makes another copy, right? Instantly, the card that you hold has lost 50% of its value, right? Because now there's two. So imagine you're holding your dollars and then the government goes and creates 40 trillion or however much money they want to create out of nowhere and in a short period of time, right? That's what happened during COVID, right? A lot of people had, they had money saved up right before the pandemic, and then the governments and central banks, they printed 40% of the world's money supply in 2 years, right? So that, in other words, people who were saving dollars, saving money, just lost 40% of their savings overnight, all right? It's insane. So that's reason number one. Reason number two that I feel like Bitcoin is not risky is because it's decentralized, right? There's no single point of failure. There's no CEO of it. There's no government that controls it. It's run by a whole bunch of computers spread out all over the world. The third reason I feel like Bitcoin is not risky is because throughout its existence, it's been attacked, it's been banned, it's been declared dead. And after each of those things have happened, it bounces back even stronger and more powerful each time, right? Countries have tried banning Bitcoin, but it doesn't work. It still survives, right? People have said Bitcoin has been dead plenty of times, it rebounds, it recovers, right? So, yeah. Another reason Bitcoin's not risky is because it's borderless and permissionless. I don't need permission from a bank to send money across the world if I wanted to. I could send millions of dollars over the internet for a small fee, and I don't have to worry about any agency trying to block my transaction or trying to control my transaction or trying to freeze my account or anything like that, right? You have power, right? You have all the power, right? Essentially become your own bank. All right, we've seen what happens when you support the wrong cause or you speak up about certain things in the society, right? People can debank you, right? They can stop you from accessing your funds, the money that you've worked so hard to get, right? We've seen what happened during COVID with the freedom protesters in Ottawa, just for supporting a cause, right? People had their bank accounts blocked or their bank accounts frozen, right? That's control, bro. How can someone control your assets, the stuff that you've worked so hard for, right? With Bitcoin, that can't happen, right? You have your own set of private keys, and without those keys, no one can do anything to your Bitcoin, right? Last but not least, it's not risky because it's gaining global adoption, right? You have entire countries building a Bitcoin stack. You have governments, right? At the state level, provincial level, federal level, starting Bitcoin reserves, right? You have sovereign wealth funds. You have corporations, right? You have the world's wealthiest people starting to buy Bitcoin, right? And the crazy part is, Bitcoin's not for them. It's for the everyday person, right? Bitcoin is more for the everyday person than it is for these, wealthy and powerful entities, right? So that's probably the biggest reason, right? The everyday person like you and I would benefit the most from buying and storing Bitcoin. But it's going all over a lot of y'all heads, man. You see, most people think that saving your money in a bank is safe, right? That's what we grew up on. That's how we've been programmed. But I want you to dig a little bit deeper, right? Think about what the bank does with your money when you store it in their accounts. When you deposit money into banks, right, it's not just sitting there. What they do with it is they gamble it on other investments by lending your money out, right? I want you to look up fractional reserve banking, right? It'll blow your mind. There have been instances where, people have put money into banks, and whatever the banks are into, whatever investments they're into, they go south. And when people want to withdraw their money, they can't. Why? Because the banks don't actually have the money. The money is gone. So imagine you put $50,000 into a bank thinking that it's safe there, and something goes wrong with the bank and you're like, hey, I want to get my money back. Let me go take out my money. But you can't withdraw your $50,000, right? That shit would make me insane. That shit would make me so angry. But yet it's happened. Just recently, in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, we've had a few bank runs, right? Silicon Valley Bank, right? People couldn't access their funds because their funds were tied up in some shady investments by the bank, right? Crazy, right? And not only that, when you store your money in a bank, your dollars are melting. They're losing value, right? The bank only gives you 1 to maybe 5% on your money annually for storing it in there, right? While they make 10, 15, 20% off your money, right? By lending it out, right? Your money's constantly losing value due to inflation, right? To me, that's not safe, right? That's not safe, right? That's what's risky. What's risky is holding your money in a currency that loses value due to inflation, then placing it in a institution that not only doesn't really store your money, but it lends out your money to other people, and it only provides you a small return on your money, right? The return that you get from holding your money with these banks is less than what inflation is. So overall, it's a lose-lose situation for you. You're losing money at the end of the day. Bitcoin is the solution to that problem, right? Bitcoin allows you to opt out of that system. It allows you to store and control your own money while watching your money watching your money grow and appreciate in value. So Bitcoin isn't for day traders, right? Bitcoin is for people who are long-term thinkers and visionaries, right? You have a vision of what your future, what you want your future to look like. If you're panicking every time Bitcoin's price dips, the problem is that you don't have a long enough time horizon. You're thinking short term, not long term, right? The best advice, or some of the best advice I've heard, is from this YouTuber and podcaster named Rajat Soni. Shout out to him. He's a Canadian too. He says whenever he buys Bitcoin, he automatically assumes he's going to be wrong for 4 years, right? So what he's saying is he buys Bitcoin with the mindset of that the price may drop in the short term, right? 3 to 4 years. But if you buy Bitcoin and hold it for more than 4 years, you're almost guaranteed to have grown your wealth or for Bitcoin to have appreciated over those 4 years, right? And if you look back at the charts, anytime you buy in 4 years, so if you bought Bitcoin in 2020 and you look at the price now, the price has gone up. So you've made money. You're in the green. You're not in the red, right? And that's what he's saying. You have to have a long time horizon. Over time, Bitcoin has always rewarded those with conviction, right? With people with the balls and mental fortitude to hold long enough, those people are always rewarded, right? Imagine there are some people that bought Bitcoin when it was at 10 cents and they've held until now, right? In the span of 13 years, it went from 10 cents to $100,000. Come on, man, come on. So with all that being said, I think it's riskier to not own any Bitcoin than to at least have a little bit of exposure. So is Bitcoin volatile? Absolutely. I have no disagreement about that. But is it risky? Not if you understand what it is and where our world is going. No, not at all. I don't save in Bitcoin because it's exciting or just because it's the new thing. I save in Bitcoin because it's the only form of money and it's the only asset that truly respects my time, respects my hard work, and it shows me by rewarding me with price appreciation over time, right? It actually stores my value. I think it's the most powerful tool that we have at our disposal that's going to help protect our time, protect our energy, and our future wealth, right? But you just need to be able to ride the waves of the volatility, right? And that you're able to do when you have understanding, when you know what you're holding. So if I cleared anything up for you, if I helped make a little bit more sense of this whole thing of risk and volatility, like this, share it with someone who still thinks Bitcoin is risky, and stay tuned for the next Walk and Talk. I'm out.